Joining me now is Megan Hayes, former special assistant to President Biden, along with Morris Reed, political strategist and former staff aide in the Clinton administration. Welcome to you both. We'll go ladies first here, Megan. So talk about the patriotism here. The convention, as you know, featured the Chicks, of course, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks. They were singing the national anthem. There were American flags flying, USA chants. Are Democrats reclaiming this love of country that Republicans have tried to claim ownership of?
You know, the Republican Party doesn't have a monopoly on patriotism and love of country. I think that the Democrats really seized on the opportunity to show that Democrats also have love of country and also are there and have been. We never lost it. We were always fighting for democracy in 2020. You saw that. And in 2024, you're seeing that again. It was incredible to be there to watch the Dixie Chicks sing, all the chanting of USA. The crowd would just erupt in the chant all of the time. So, I think that the Democrats never really lost patriotism or lost that at the forefront. I just don't think it was at the forefront of our values that was forward facing in the media or in these big public events. But it was really exciting to see and really incredible to watch all of this come to life over the last week.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Morris, one of the Republicans' biggest lines continues to be that Democrats hate America. How long can they keep doing that with this new patriotic energy, along with the choice of Walz, who's kind of the very embodiment of a Midwestern all-American?
Well, I think it's an old line that may have worked in the past, but it'll be difficult when you have someone like the governor who was served. Also very difficult when you have a person with the vice president's story, an immigrant family, both parents moved here looking to find the American dream. So love of country has never been something that Democrats have shied away from. Republicans have worn that energy differently, but I think you'll see this time with the vice president and the governor, they will embrace it and they'll fight for it, just as the Republicans have fought for it in the past.
Yeah. And Megan, despite all this momentum, many DNC speakers were very clear this election is not in the bag yet, and they warned of being too confident. Take a listen.
But you should never underestimate your adversary. And these people are really good at distracting us, at triggering doubt.
Remember, there are still so many people who are desperate for a different outcome. So no matter how good we feel tonight or tomorrow or the next day, this is going to be an uphill battle.
It's the fourth quarter. We're down a field goal, but we're on offense and we've got the ball.
So is that message getting through to voters? Are there worries about complacency, or have voters learned their lesson from 2016?
No, I think that voters are complacent. I don't think voters are really going to be paying attention until after Labor Day when their kids are back in school, and early vote starts in a couple of weeks in a lot of places. So I think until we start voting, until they have the debate, I really do think that this is going to be an uphill battle till the very, very end, till Election Day. Democrats are really taking note of that. I think in 2016, I think people, they got complacent and they saw what happened. I hope that doesn't happen again. I think people know that and understand it in a different way than they did before. But, it's always going to be an uphill battle. The polls are extremely close. This is going to be 15,000 votes in these battleground states. We cannot lose sight of the goal here, and that's winning in November and beating Donald Trump. And I just think that Democrats really need to take notice and continue to organize and continue to talk to your neighbors, just like Michelle Obama's speech is: say something, do something. I think that taking out the convention, that just continues to need to happen moving through November.
Mm-hmm. Morris, we heard really a combination this week of reaching across the aisle, saying that there's room in the Democratic tent for everyone, along with more cutting remarks and jabs at Trump and Republicans, including this comment. It's from Michigan's Attorney General about marriage equality. Listen to this.
By the way, I got a message for the Republicans and the justices of the United States Supreme Court. You can pry this wedding band from my cold, dead, gay hand.
So is this blunt rhetoric what voters are looking for, or is there a danger in going too far?
Well, I think there's one thing for sure, that this issue, reproductive rights, will be a main issue going forward. I don't think the Democrats should rely on that issue solely. They need to pivot. Of course, this is a major issue. It will make major turnout issues on the Democratic side, but they really need to start to move to pocketbook issues. This race is going to come down to what Americans feel, or who Americans feel can do the best for their family. So the Democrats need to pivot from just talking about reproductive rights and really go into these pocketbook issues where people want to hear from their candidate what you're going to do to make my life better and what you're going to do to make the future better. Campaigns are always about the future, and if the Kamala Harris can really frame the narrative around reproductive rights to do the energy, but really stick to the issues that Americans want to hear, which is how are you going to make my life better, then it looks pretty good for the Democrats. But as my colleague was saying, we're a long way from this election being over. They need to really stay focused on what's at hand.
So, Megan, the vice president also spoke on the war in Gaza, reaffirming support for Israel, but also making strong comments about the devastation in Gaza and the rights of the Palestinian people. On Wednesday, the group Muslim Women for Harris announced it was disbanding and pulling their support for Harris after the DNC did not have a Palestinian-American speaker, but did include the parents of Israeli hostages. The group said that family showed more empathy than the DNC. Harris has, generally received higher marks on the issue than Biden, but how carefully does she go forward on this issue?
Look, she has to thread a needle here because she's still part of the administration. Those are still the policies. She still has, she's still sitting in meetings in the Situation Room. She is still the vice president. And on top of that, she is now running for president. So she definitely has to thread a needle here. I will say that the feeling in the convention and the feeling in Chicago, the protests were not nearly what people thought they were going to be. There was a couple of folks that were very peaceful in the sit-in on Wednesday night into Thursday, but it was not disrespectful in the convention hall whatsoever. And those people came in and watched her speech, which was incredible. But I will say that the vice president really has to thread a needle, which I do think she did on Thursday. But the administration continues to fight for a ceasefire and to work with the different parties involved to get a ceasefire. I know that there are people there now negotiating that, but they are doing everything they can on the diplomatic front. But she needs to walk the line as a candidate, which I do think she's doing. But it's tough. It's going to be a really tough fight, to continue that balance.
And quickly, Morris, your thoughts on how Harris handled this issue and how carefully she's got to tread?
I thought she was spot on the way she handled it. She stood up for Israel, but she stood up for the right and dignity of the Palestinians. What these people need to understand is they need to see the forest for the trees. If they truly want to make sure that Palestine is taken care of, they truly want to make sure that Israel is safe, the Democratic Party is the right party to vote for. So they need to focus on ultimately what the end goal is, which is to have freedom and dignity around the world for everyone.
Yeah, point well taken there. Megan, I want to ask you, given your relationship with President Biden as a special assistant to him, it was a bittersweet week for him because just a little over a month ago, he was expecting to accept his party's nomination. How do you think he viewed this remarkable week, including the many thanks that he got? How does he see his role in the campaign to Election Day, do you think?
I think he's probably incredibly prideful. And he's very happy. I'm sure he's happy in his decision or he wouldn't have done it. I think, it's also hard for him to watch too, but also he passed the torch with dignity and with respect. The vice president has been nothing but gracious and honoring his wishes every step of the way. And I think he has to feel a lot of pride that this is, moving our country forward in a way that's created a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of organizing ability and just, the future for the Democratic Party. So, where it is bittersweet, I do think that he is recognizing that this was the best thing for the country and the vice president is taking the torch forward. And I think that's incredible to watch.
Okay. Megan Hayes and Morris Reed, it's good to see you both. Thank you so much.